Hello and welcome to another episode of Slick Willy Flying. What we're going to do today is a Slick Willy Beach Bum. It gets this name because this is a fly that I imagine when I'm walking the beaches, casting for snook or tarpon or jacks or whatever else is swimming on my beaches. I have a beach in Miami where that fly will absolutely just crush snook. Maybe you happen to live somewhere where you have redfish or sea trout, within close proximity to the beach, but I wasn't so fortunate. All right, so what am I putting in the vise? I have a 3/0 hook, and I'm gonna give this a couple of wraps of lead thread. I'm actually using flat lead for this one, piece of flat lead, and I'm going to attach the lead about halfway down the hook shank because I want this fly not to work like a jig exactly, but I don't exactly want it to I want it to swim. I don't want it to jig up and down. So I'm going to put the lead kind of centered on the hook. And then once I feel like I have it where I want it, and I do, doesn't look very pretty, but it's where I want it, I'm going to just hit it with a little bit of super glue. And now I'm going to start my thread. For thread, I'm using 100 denier burnt orange. It's the color, and I think that color is perfect for this fly. So I'm just going to put a thread base down the whole shank. And I love the fact that my super glue isn't dry yet because that'll really lock in with this little bit of thread. Perfect. So this is a pretty sparse fly, and that's great because it'll cast good, and it shouldn't right on the surface. It should sink, but I don't think that this fly is going to hit the sand. I think that this fly is going to suspend, which is exactly what I want. So the first material that I'm going to put on is this, it's called Frenzy Fiber, and I can show you the packaging here. Frenzy Fiber, and it's kind of a stiff material. I don't have a lot of uses for it, but I think that this is a good use for this material. I'm just going to use it to basically cover the hook shank so that the hook shank isn't overly exposed. That's really all I'm doing with this. Just like this. I'm going to let an amount of it hang out the back, which probably is going to get a lot of it trimmed. But I just want it to, I just want to cover the hook shank a little. And this fiber that I have in the back here, I'm not going to trim it yet. I do want it to sit a little bit more on top of the hook. That's the only reason I brought my thread back. I want it to sit there, yes. So now, at about the halfway mark here, I'm gonna go ahead and tie in some flash. For flash, I have Flashabou Pearl Aglow in gold. And this I am going to also tie in long. I'm going to put it on my thread about the center mark, best I can here. And I want to go ahead and tie it in right on top, right about where I tied in the lead. And I'm going to let that sit, just like that. Bring my thread back to in front of the lead. And now I have a marabou feather, one creamy color marabou feather. This color is actually called sand. I'm going to go ahead and peel off a little bit of this thicker fibers at the bottom where the stem's a little thicker, because we're not going to use them, and that'll give me a good spot to grab with hackle pliers. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this feather a little bit, just like that. Now I have a good spot to grab it. I'm going to grab the top stem. I'm going to peel away, not actually peeling them away, but I'm just moving them some of these fibers so I have a good tie-in point. And once I feel like I have a good tie-in point, I'm going to go ahead and tie it in right in front of the lead. Just like that. And you could trim away that little tag. Now I'm going to take a hackle plier. Hopefully this is going to work. I'm going to grab the feather. I'm going to go in the same direction as the thread. And I'm just going to wrap up this marabou feather. This is actually going to be my top wing when this is done. I'm stroking back these feathers, these fibers. Just keep stroking them back on each turn. It's working out really nice. And once I'm to the end where I am now, then I just take my thread and capture that marabou. Just like that. Perfect. Now you may have noticed that I was also, when I was pulling them back, all these fibers, I was also pulling them up. I'm going to cut away that tag. I never cut on the same side as my thread bobbin. And now again, I'm going to try and just capture all these fibers on the top side of the hook. Best as I can. Perfect. So now the last material that we're going to tie on, actually before I tie on that last material, I'm going to take a marker and I'm going to go ahead and mark up this top wing. And this is not the last material, I take it back. There's 2 materials left. So I'm just going to bar up this top wing. I'm using a brown marker. I just think it makes it look a little bit more fishy. You know, often a lot of my strikes come when I'm fishing the beach. Feels like a lot of my strikes come in that in the surf. You know, you have these predator snook that are feeding on the baitfish that are getting all confused in the surf. All right, so that feels good that I got that nice and applied. So now I'm going to take a little bit Arctic Fox in white. Don't need much. I'm going to take a decent little clump here. I'm going to isolate a little clump. Cut that off. And now what is important is you got to take away all this little short fibers. It'll be way too bulky and it will definitely affect the way this fly sinks and swims. So all these little fibers have to go. These little shorts. And the way you do that is you take your clump, you pinch it, and so anything that pulls out is shorter than where I'm pinching the fiber. And I just keep working it and working it until I feel comfortable that I got most of those fibers out. It's a little messy, and that's why I recommend everyone have a little shop vac or a little vacuum cleaner with them. I have a little handheld vacuum here. That actually helps a lot. All right, so I'm going to invert my fly and I'm going to take that clump and I'm going to go ahead and attach it. I'm not going to worry about dividing it onto both sides of the hook. That can come later. What I am more concerned about is my overall length. And I don't want it as long as the wing. I want it shorter than the wing. So that actually looks perfect. I don't need to trim this at all. But I do have to capture it. So a couple of loose wraps, making sure that it's sitting only on the bottom. And now I could pull this tight. Then I could take this tag and just spin it up and trim it as close as I dare to trim it. And that looks good right there. And I can clean this up with a little bit more thread. Perfect. Then I could take a needle and I can divide up the Arctic fox. So that looks good. That's about the way it should look. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and divide these up the way they're gonna look, because I'm gonna apply my last material, which is a little bit of Titan dubbing. And the Titan dubbing I'm gonna use is, it's in the oranges, and it's called Pumpkin. And it's right here. Pumpkin seed, I apologize. Pumpkin seed. And you don't need much. Just gonna pull out maybe a little more than that. So I pulled out that amount. And all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take it at about the center. Maybe I just work it a little. Just like that. So I'm gonna take it at about the center mark. I'm going to go ahead and place it on top. A couple of loose wraps. Now I kind of want to work it a little bit so it's evenly dispersed around the top. Then the other half, I'm going to bring it around and to the bottom, making sure that I distribute it nicely around the bottom. Can put in a couple more loose wraps just to make sure. And once you're happy with that, and I'm happy with that, then you just stroke everything back and lock it in. Just like that. Now I am not wrapping over the dubbing. I just making a little wall right in front of the dubbing. And now I'm going to put in a whip finish. And you can fish this fly exactly the way it is right now. It will fish and it will catch fish. But I'm gonna go ahead and take another step, a little second longer, and we'll put some eyes on this fly. Before I put the eyes on, I'm gonna go ahead and comb it out a little. Want to make sure I like the way everything is. Combs out some of these really loose fibers. Perfect. Love it. Love the way it's coming out. Okay. We're gonna trim these. We're gonna trim this flash and everything coming out the back in a second, but let's go ahead and do the eyes first. For eyes, we're gonna use these 6mm red eyes. They have a little bit of adhesive on them, so I just go ahead and place them on. I place them just behind the knot, and I use the hook shank as my guide. So just like that. Now I do the same thing on the opposite side. It's nice when I use these bigger eyes because I can place them with my fingers. just like that. Perfect. Super happy with that. I can check them. Love the way that looks. That's perfect. So now I'm going to take a little bit of UV resin. Once you use the resin, that's it. That's the shape. So keep that in mind. Actually, I'm going to see if I can't trim up a couple wild hairs here. Nice, just like that, perfect. So now I'm going to take the resin, and what am I going to do with the resin? I'm going to go ahead and apply it on the eye and working it off the edge of the eye. I'm going to tilt this so hopefully you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just working a super light amount right off the edge of the eye onto the fibers. Same thing with the opposite eye. Now a little bit on the knot itself, just to make sure the knot doesn't come undone. Now it's important that you look at your shape. You're not in any rush. As long as you don't hit this with a UV lamp, you can move anything you need to move. But make sure that you like where everything is sitting. I like the way everything is sitting. So now I'm just going to zap this with my lamp. They say 5 to 10 seconds. I always hold it longer. I'm not in any rush. I'm not a commercial fly tire. So if I take 20 or 30 seconds, it doesn't really matter. Might add a little bit more UV. Looks like that one eye didn't quite get coated. You know, a lot of times I can see things under the UV lamp that I don't see with the naked eye. And that's a perfect example. I had missed a little bit of an edge on this eye. So I'm going to come back and just add a little bit more resin. And that should do it. That should get it on there nice and hard. And the idea is that these eyes should be able to take any kind of a vicious strike. You know, it could be a barracuda. It could be anything. You know, you get a big jack, man, they hit hard. And I would like for the eyes to last more than one fish. So that's why we do the eyes this way. That's why we try to make them a little bit more bulletproof. But that's basically the fly. So now I'm just gonna take the fly out of the vise, and now I'm going to take some scissors, and the way I trim this length is so that it doesn't lose that staggered feel to it. I just come in and I kind of come from underneath and I just random trim just like that, and this way nothing is the same length. Everything looks staggered and fishy and just awesome. And there it is. The Slick Willy Beach Bum. And this is a fly that I think that this color combo is going to look great, you know, in the surf. And this is going to get a lot of hits and going to catch a lot of snook for me. So hope you enjoyed the video. Good luck tying this fly. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And good luck catching. See you on the next video. Thanks for watching.